My name is Lulanga Sydney. I'm the tutor for personnel administration. Before we go further in this presentation, I would like us to look at the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are the competencies that you are expected to attain at the end of this course, at the end of this presentation. You should be able to understand certain concepts about personnel administration vis-a-vis human resource management. At the end of this course, you should be able to employ registration, regulation, and policies that must be administered within the personnel administration function. Should be able to interpret the functions of personnel administration in both public and private sector, and you should be able to explain the difference between personnel administration and human resources management. Now, what do people say about personnel administration, or what do people understand by human resources? When people look at organizations, there are certain people who have said that you can not do without people in an organization. So they say the employees are the most important asset of the organization. Now, that is food for thought, which you could go through and try to understand what that means. An asset is something that is of greater value, something that brings prominence. So if employees are the most important asset of the organization, then it means that these people, or this asset in particular, should be guided or should be guarded and ensured that it lasts longer. So when we are looking at that, we are saying we are looking at the quality and effectiveness of the organization, that it will be determined by this asset. It will be determined by the quality of people that it employs. Then we also could deduce from that to say that the success for most organizations depends on finding the right employees with the right skills to successfully perform the tasks required to attain the company's strategic goals. So the strategic goals, strategy is a long-term plan. So the organization sees itself at another level in the coming 3 to 5 years. And for it to reach that level, it needs to have the right people in place. So what is personnel administration? Personnel administration can be defined as that part of administration which is concerned with people at work and with their relationship within an organization. So personnel administration is that part of management which looks at on how to manage people. Managing people, you are looking at from the point of entry to the point of exit in an organization. Now, for us to understand personnel administration fully, we need to look at what is human resource management. Human resource management is that field of management which has to do with planning, organizing, controlling various operative functions of procuring, developing, and maintaining and utilizing a workforce in order that the objectives for which the organization is established are attained as efficiently and economically as possible. The objectives of all levels of personnel are served to the highest degree, and the objectives of the community at large are duly considered and served. So what are the objectives of personnel administration? The personnel administration looks at three objectives, or it has three objectives. There is the personal objectives, which looks at the individual employee; organizational objectives, which looks at the business entity, the organization itself; and then we have the last one, societal objectives, society at large. So it starts with the individual employees. It goes to group, and different groups make up the organization, and then society at large, it has its own objectives. So those are the objectives that personnel administration takes cognizance of. Now, on individual level, what is personnel administration concerned about? It's concerned with maximum or optimum utilization of human resources within the organization. So personnel administration looks at ways on how to make full use of the human resources in the organization. Now, for us to have full use of the resources that we have, we need to look at a number of issues. We look at skills these employees have, the knowledge that these employees have. Are they qualified to do this type of job? Do they have the right tools to do the job? So if they are lacking in those areas, then we also you do what you call needs analysis. We'll look at that. It's personnel administration at the personal level, at the individual level of an employee, is also concerned with the creation of conditions in which each employee is encouraged to make his or her best possible contribution to the effective working of the organization. Personnel administration at an individual level is also concerned with the development of the sense of mutual respect and trust between management and workers through sound relations. It endeavors to increase the productive efficiency of the workers through training, guidance, counseling, development, and it also tries to raise the morale of the employee. So the employee should feel belonging, the employee should feel valued, the employee should feel accepted or needed in the organization. That is at personal level. So it will help the employee to identify with the organization, to be happy. And they say a happy employee is the most productive employee. Now we move to organizational. Okay. Now organizational, the entity itself. What are the objectives of personnel administration? Okay. And this organizational, we look at personnel administration wants to recognize the role of human resources management. How do we manage people in the organization in order to bring the organizational effectiveness? Human resource management is not an end in itself. Personnel administration demonstrates to us that. It says that human resources is a means. People are supposed to help the organization to realize its goals, to meet its objectives. It is a means to assist the organization with its primary objectives. So, put in other words, personnel administration exists to serve the rest of the organization. Now, we talked about two elements. We talked about personal, which is an individual employee. We looked at the organization itself. Now let's look at society at large. What does it expect? Or what does personnel administration say about the society at large? Society at large looks at the issue of ethics, morality, the ethical code and the code of ethics. So personnel administration talks about to be ethically and socially responsible to the needs and challenges of society. And that's where we find the issues about organization reaching out to the community. Okay, so the organization should be socially connected to society, should be standing on moral grounds, and it also says that the failure of organization to use their resources for the society's benefit in ethical manner can lead to a number of challenges, especially restrictions, legal challenges, society not accepting what the organization stands for. For example, society may limit HR decisions through laws that enforce reservations in hiring the local and laws that address discrimination. For example, an organization, society can pass a law that says certain jobs should be reserved for the local population. You should have a certain number of women. You should have certain positions should be reserved for local people. The organization should meet certain criteria in safety and other areas. So social responsibility is key when it comes to personnel administration, social responsibility. The organization should be able to reach out to the community. The local community should benefit from what the organization reaps. Now, why is personnel administration important? It's service delivered by people. It looks at people, realizes the importance of people in the organization, categorizes people as the most important assets in the organization. And then it says that the low quality HR, human resources, leads to low quality products, low quality service, low quality service delivery to society. So you need to have human resources that are well trained, highly qualified, have the right tools, they are put in the right place, and therefore they are able to deliver. So in this century that we live in, personnel administration emphasizes the point to say that effective knowledge management translates in competitive advantage and profits. And it says that knowledge comes from a firm's people. So knowledge, creativity, innovation, zeal to work comes from people. Okay. So what is unique about personnel administration? Personnel administration is embedded with the work of all managers. All managers need to learn how to manage people, work with people, hire the right skills or the right personnel, ensure that this right personnel is maintained, it's given all the training, the development that it needs, it's the job placement is properly done. People, when they're hired, there's induction, there's orientation. So personnel administration is embedded with the work of all managers and the most individual contributors to the need of managing people. You look at subordinates, informal groupings, peers, people work together, and superiors, managers, supervisors, as well as teams that make things to be done. So there are three major stakeholders when it comes to personnel administration. There's society at large, there's organization, or the organization or owners of the organization, the entity itself, and then the individual employee. Now, can we tell the difference between personnel administration and human resources management? Personnel administration, when we are looking at the perspective, we see that personnel administration is more concerned about short-term perspective, whereby human resources management is concerned about the long-term perspective. When you look at the point of view, personnel administration looks at compliance, while human resources management looks at psychological contract based on commitment. So personnel administration talks about loyalty, talks about people complying, doing things according to the law. When it comes to control, personnel administration looks towards external control, whereby human resources management looks at self-control. When we look at perception, personnel administration is more broader, whereby human resources management is more linear. And when we look at the role, its role, personnel administration is more specialized, and human resources management is more strategic. And then the outlook, personnel administration looks at minimizing cost, whereby human resources management looks at maximizing utilization of human resources in the organization. Now, we continue with that. And when you look at personnel administration, for example, when you look at employment contract, we said personnel administration looks at delineation of written contracts, whereby human resource management goes beyond the contract. It talks about psychological contract, which is unwritten contract, but based on commitment, based on understanding, based on agreements. Now, when it comes to rules, personal administration is very clear when it comes to rules, and then human resources management asks for or considers flexibility as key. And when it looks at management action, personal administration is more for policies, procedures, rules, guidelines, whereby human resources management is more focused on business, making things work, making money for the organization. When it looks at behavior referent, personal administration looks at norms, customs, and practices, whereby human resources management looks at values and the mission of the organization. When you look at managerial task vis-a-vis labor, for personal administration, it looks more at monitoring. People should be monitored to ensure that they do the right thing, they do it at the right time, and it's done by the right person. Whereby human resources management looks at nurturing, growth. Okay, initiative. When you look at personal administration, it looks at piecemeal, parts, components, whereby human resources management looks at the whole picture integrated. Okay. Now, when we are looking at personal administration and human resource management, we realize that when we are looking at the issue about job design, personal management mostly looks at division of labor, and human resources management looks at teamwork. Conflict handling, you find that personal management looks more at truth, whereby human resources management emphasizes on managing climate and workplace climate and organizational culture. On training and development, personal management mostly looks at control, okay, whereby human resources management looks at learning organizations. And when we look at respect for employees, for personal management, labor is treated as a tool, whereby in human resources management, people are treated as assets. On shared interests, we see that in personal administration, you see that the interests of the organization are the most important, whereby human resources management talks about mutuality. Both employees and the organization are key. Okay. Now, who completes personal administration tasks? There are a number of people that we look at. We are mostly looking at 5 areas. The first one is the line managers. The line managers are the ones who look at personal administration tasks, and then we also look at we have human resources managers in place. Then we also have shared service centers, outsourcing firms that may be providing certain services to the organization, and then technology interfaces. Now, how does the personal administration model look like? Personal administration model, it has 3 components up there. We look at the current context, and then organizational strategies and structure, and then we also look at organizational culture. Now, in current context, you see it looks at political climate, government laws, economy, etc. And when it comes to organizational strategies and structure, it looks at goals and organizational chart. And when it looks at organizational culture, it looks at mission and vision and informal procedures. Now, personal administration looks at policies, looks at procedures, looks at laws that are put in place concerning the plan for the future, training and development, recruitment and selection, salary, benefits, bonus system. What does the law say? What do the company policies say? And then it reviews this based on the laws of the time and the policies of the company, and then it reviews all human resources activities based on those. Now, what are the key activities of personal administration? Personal administration is concerned with the human resource planning, human resource policies, salary and benefit administration, human rights and labor laws, recruitment, selection and orientation. You can put in there induction, and then there's also performance administration, training and development of staff, communications and counseling. Okay. Now, what is the responsibility for personnel administration? The responsibility for personnel administration rests with each manager. Remember, we talked about line managers, we talked about human resources managers, and if a manager does not accept this responsibility, then personnel activities will only be partially done. So personnel administration provides strategies, systems, tools, and support to managers to ensure effective staff and management, or staff management. Okay. Now, what is this thing about line and staff authority? Now, line managers are immediate supervisors. Here, when we are talking about authority, we are saying people who are in positions to make decisions, to direct other people's work and give orders. Line managers, those who are authorized to direct the work of subordinates, and they are responsible for accomplishing the organization's goals. Now, staff manager is a manager who assists and advises line managers. Personnel administrators or personnel administration managers are generally staff managers. Now, what are some of the outstanding personnel qualities? First, outstanding personal qualities. The first one is talking about there's need to free oneself from any bias, especially when it comes to when one wants to be truly effective. Personnel administration requires that its practitioners, its personnel, they come out of the they practice impartiality. They should be objective, and they should be impartial in the decisions that they make. They should follow the law, and they should do things according to what the company policy says, or the policies, what they dictate, what the law says, and they should base their decisions based on sincerity, fearlessness, integrity, accountability, and upright living, or decisions that they can defend anywhere else. Now, what about understanding people? Personnel administration insists on that a personnel administrator should understand people, and such understanding includes appreciation of people's wants and needs, aspirations, what they look forward to, understanding the human differences or individual differences that exist based on aptitudes, behaviors, abilities. And then it also helps people to understand the increasing effort to provide others with opportunities, the encouragement and the motivation of their development. Now, what did we look at in this particular presentation? What we realized in this particular presentation is that personnel administration is that part which is primarily concerned with human resource management of the organization. Personnel administration, which is employee-centered, aims at hiring, training, compensating, and maintaining the existing force of the organization. Personnel administration considers job satisfaction and morale as a source of better performance. It works on the foundation that a contented worker is a productive worker.